This is my third take of this video. I just can't get it under like 12 minutes, and it's not a slight at Roschon. It's the fact that there's so much interesting and good stuff to talk about, but I'm going to give it one more shot, right? We're going to do it one more time, take the tractor another round, right? We're going to do our best here, and start off by talking about Roschon and some of the measurables and testing results, right? We have a guy who is 6 feet tall, 219 pounds, obviously running back out of Texas, which in and of itself is interesting because we've already done a video on a Texas running back, and yeah, it's pretty rare that we're going to double up at what people regard as one of the least valuable positions, but I think once we get the film on, you guys will see exactly why we are here evaluating Roschon today. As far as the athleticism, that's an expected 40. You guys will see the film. Not the fastest guy in the world, not the greatest acceleration in the world, but not something you can't work with either for the role he's going to play, right? And then, the jumps are good, the jumps are fine. That's all good and well. I think the most disappointing thing from his Combine Pro Day combo is the fact that he was 2 inches shorter than listed throughout his tenure at Texas. They had him listed as a freshman quarterback, as 6 feet 2 inches tall, back when he first got recruited there. And unfortunately, now that he's 22 years old, we find out that he's only 6 feet tall. But no, in all seriousness, I kind of glossed on that one. Quarterback. What the heck is that about? So, Roschon, and I didn't know this until I finished watching the film and finished grading him, but Roschon's a guy who was recruited to Texas as an All-American quarterback out of high school. I think there was an article that said he was the number 2 rated dual threat QB by ESPN in the 2018 graduating class, right? The 2018 recruiting class. That's a big deal. And in that regard, for Roschon to step in, he got to school in January of that year. And then a week before the season starts, there's a litany of injuries at running back, and the coaches say, hey, Roschon, we're going to need you to take some snaps back there. For that not to be his natural position per se, and go in there and step in and have 123 attempts, 649 yards, 7 touchdowns as a true freshman, that's impressive as anything, right? That's great stuff. The numbers might not look, eye-popping, but that's very impressive. Just the selflessness, right? And then what does Roschon do, right? QBs are supposed to be divas. Well, just so happens Texas brings in Bijan Robinson, and what does he do? Does he transfer? Does he pout? Does he whine? Is he mad? Does he want to go back to QB? Maybe he did. I don't know. But he doesn't. And he finds a home for himself here as the number 2 running back at Texas. And even though the stats go down, you could look at it on one hand like that. On the other hand, the efficiency darn near went up almost every season. The hits went down every season, so if you want to say, he's 22 years old, hasn't had that many carries, I think you can see that, right? You can see that in some of the vision, things like that. We'll touch on it, but he hasn't taken very many hits either for a position that so many people are worried about. Their legs are going to die out by the time they're 25 years old. This guy's had as many hits as, full-time starters by their second season. He played 4 years in college, so he's got experience, but he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear in his legs. I look at that in a way as a positive. And, you kind of combine that in with the whole picture of what he does well, what he doesn't. And I think we're looking at someone who's a fun prospect here. I will say, I kind of hinted at it there. Vision, to me, a little bit of a lower category, I would say. I think you see the fact that he's not necessarily a natural running back in it, as far as mainly the fact that I think he's a late decision maker. Not that it doesn't pay dividends from time to time, but a lot of times, I shouldn't say a lot of times, sometimes you have these plays where he's just kind of pounding grass, waiting to make a cut, and then next thing you know, he's hitting the back of his offensive lineman, right? Sometimes it works when a cut lane opens up late, but more often than not, I just wish he was keyed in a little bit earlier, and maybe it's not even that, maybe it's just he needs to be more willing to hit it when he sees it, right? Because again, he's patient, but sometimes I think there's patience to a fault, and especially when you don't have necessarily the juice behind him that some of these other running backs do, I think it can be a bit of a problem sometimes. Like I said, 4.58 earlier, he's got capable speed, he has enough speed, got to hold on to the ball, but he's not going to burn you either, right? You're going to be able to chase him down, especially at the next level. So, no, he's not a burner. He's not some, Le'Veon Bell as far as vision is concerned. He's not some Shady McCoy as agility is concerned. It feels like I'm ragging on the guy. I'm not, trust me. It's just the order that my grades go. We'll pick it up here in a second. But agility it's his changeup, right? Maybe it's not even his changeup. It's definitely not the fastball. The fastball's next, but agility is the splitter that he throws 4 times a game, right? And maybe shouldn't throw it at all. It's sort of that change of pace that doesn't really affect people, but at the same time, they're probably glad that he didn't put a shoulder down because he's a freaking wrecking ball. And this is when we're going to have to pick up the energy, because this is where Roschon shines. It's the fact that he's not only able to run through you, he wants to, and he's going to. It doesn't matter if he has 4 guys that he's carrying, he's going to keep moving forwards. They always say, oh, he always falls forward. That's such a played out term, and no one actually does except Roschon freaking Johnson, right? Always falls forward. There's plays where he's hit in the backfield for -2 yards. It's a 3-yard gain, right? Because he's just that strong, he's that long, and he's going to make it work. When defenders hit him first, whether it's a lazy arm tackle or they get a whole body shot, pinball machine, right? This guy's just bouncing off of him. And he's extending plays. I don't want to say every play, but to the fullest extent. And against D linemen too. Let alone linebackers and DBs. He'll carry a D end if he has to. Just so fun to watch. And then pass protection, right? Oh, the diva QB is not going to be able to pass block, right? Absolutely not. Here, you want to know something? I give Roschon the highest pass blocking grade I've given any of the other 39 running backs that I've graded over the past 3 years. I give him a 9.5 out of 10. I think you need 3 things to be a good pass blocker from the running back position. I think you need to have the ability, the willingness, and I think you need to have the technique. Check, check, check. What else do I need to say? Sometimes he can be a little bit late to identify guys, right? You have a play like this, he goes in, thinks he's going to jump someone in A gap, they come off the edge, C gap, okay, great. But I don't want that one bad play to overshadow I don't want to say hundreds of positives that I saw over the course of evaluating Roschon, but plenty of positives. At the same time, you look at a guy who, in the world we're in now, everyone is either good at one or the other. I don't want to say that. A lot of people are good at neither, but so many guys are either great at pass pro or great as a receiver out of the backfield. He can do them both, and he can do them both pretty well. He only had 3 less catches than Bijan did this past season, and people talk about how great Bijan is as a receiver. I have my doubts there, but I think that goes to show you that, hey, you might think he's coming in the game to be a 6 offensive lineman. No, he's going to sneak out and hit you for 40, right? And then one other thing that I want to talk about is the fact that on a lot of these snaps, he's playing second fiddle to Bijan, and he's a blocker. He's a lead blocker. He's playing fullback. I know people say it's outdated. It doesn't matter. But no, it's the dirty work, and the QB, former high school recruit, is willing to do it, and I absolutely love it. And in that regard, if you want someone who I just think they play selflessly, I don't know if he is in the locker room. I'm sure no one has a bad thing to say about Roschon based on the way he plays, because I imagine that his play is a reflection of the person, and the person to me looks like a guy who's willing to put it all on the line for his team, whatever they ask him to do, whether it's run the ball on the goal line, whether it's catch a pass out of the backfield, whether it's, hey, square up Will Anderson and keep him out of the QB's lap. And guess what he does? He puts the mitts on him and he does it, right? Stonewalls him. And I love it. I really do. And yes, are there some athletic limitations? Sure. There are. That's why I don't have him as a 1st or 2nd round guy, right? But hey, if you're telling me Roschon's available in the 3rd round, your team who needs a power back, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it. He'd be an upgraded pass protector on almost every team in the league right now, day one, as a rookie. That's not something you've heard me say ever, in fact, right? And in that regard, you see his overall grade comes out to a 71.3. My cutoff for a 3rd round grade is a 71.5. You take him late day 2. Take him as a post pick 95 comp pick on day 2. You get him into the 4th round. Tell me you get him in the 5th or 6th. Oh, brother, you got to steal then. No, I really like Roschon. I really do. I think he's the guy who he didn't transfer, right? And I like that. But I think if he did, and if you, let's just say, as an example, another prospect that many people are in love with this draft process, maybe someone you guys haven't heard of, but Dwayne McBride out of UAB. Similar physical profile. nearly led the FBS in yards, if I'm not mistaken. He had 233 carries on the year, 1,713 yards, and 19 touchdowns. I think if you pick Dwayne McBride out of there, you just dropped Roschon Johnson in there, I think he might be even more effective. I think he might have led the country in yards. He might have hit 2,000 yards, right? Like, I think there's not, I don't look at those stats and say, oh, this guy doesn't have talent. I look at the stats and say, no, this guy didn't have the opportunity. And if I'm an NFL team, knowing how much the wear and tear matters at the RB position, I think I might be chomping at the bit to get this guy. I really might. Yeah, I don't know how he's doing in the interviews and things of that nature, right? But like I said, I think if his play is any reflection, I imagine that there's going to be a lot of people pounding the table for Roschon in day 2, April 29th, right? Just a very fun player. Like I said, power on the class, right? Out of the 17 running backs I've graded in this class, I don't know how many of those videos I'm going to get out to you guys, but he has the 3rd highest power grade of all of them, 2nd highest balance grade of all of them, number 1 pass pro grade I've ever given. Like, what are we talking about, you know? And then at the same time, he's not some big stiff in the other areas either. I like him. I like him a lot. And with that said, I know I didn't want the video to run long. What are we at right now? At 11 minutes. I said I wanted sub 12. So with that being said, I'll wrap it up before we get too far, right? Just a like, subscribe, comment, all that great stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm mic'd up, now I'm mic'ing out. Peace, guys. See you next time.